Hi guys, meet me Cindy Himawan. So today's our topic is about the business process analysis. Okay, so using your own project. Okay, so we assume now that your project is feasible to be done. Then we will do next is doing the business process analysis. So we want to make the business process more detailed. Okay, so let's start. So your first task later is to create this business process flow. Okay, so you need to make the business process detail. Okay, so the first is you need to define the actor. Example, in here we have the actor penyedia sampah, we have the actor the platform, the system itself, and then the other user. Okay, so you need to define your actor. Example, you will have the seller, you will have the courier, the bank, the customer itself, and so on. Then you need to put the actor in the top here. Okay, so you can use VCO to draw this business process flow actually. Okay, then you will need to define the process, the beginning of the process. You put the start here. Okay, and then you will put the, you can use, so there are some notation that you can use. So the notation diamond here is actually used to define if you have any decision to do. Okay, so example, you want to check whether the customer is already registered or not, then you can use this notation, the diamond notation. And then don't forget that if you have a decision, then you need to put the example in here. You need to put the definition. So if no, then it will go to which process. If yes, then will go to which process. Okay, don't forget to put the definition here. Yeah, and then if you notice in here we have two type of notation. So the first is rectangle, and then the second one is the reverse trapezoid, the trapesium terbalik. Yeah, so so both of this notation is actually to define the process. Okay, the difference is the notation that you draw in the rectangle notation means that the process will be done in the system. Okay, example, if the customer will place the order in the application, then you will draw with the rectangle notation. But if example the activity is doing the packaging, means it will do the manual activity, right? It will not done in the system, then you will need to put the notation is in the rectangle, it's in the reverse trapezoid. Okay, and then what you need to put in the inside the notation is actually the process. So make sure that you will use the verb. Okay, so you're not only put example order. Okay, but you need to put the verb, example creating order. You cannot just put invoice, but you need to put like creating invoice or payment, or doing payment. Okay, so remember that all of this needs to be needs to be explained in a verb form. Okay, melakukan, menerima, gitu ya, everything should be in the verb. And then if you notice here also there will be a document. Okay, it means that if example you can print the document, example you can print the invoice or you can print the order, then you can put the document here, the document notation, yeah. And then you also can put example in here, you can put the it's a reference. So example, it's it will, after this process, then it will goes to this process, then you can use this notation. Okay, so you can example from here goes to A means that it will goes to this process, and then from example from here goes to D, then it will go to this process and go and another things until you can define, then it will goes to the process selesai or end. Okay, actually what miss here is the arrow. Okay, so make sure that you will put the arrow for each line. Okay, because sometimes it will be confusing if we don't have any arrow, so make sure you will put the arrow for each line, yeah. Okay, so that is for the business process flow, so make sure you will put as detailed as possible. Okay, and then the next is you will need to define the business agreement. So the business agreement actually can be split into customer agreement. It means that our agreement with the customer, and then the agreement with our mitra. Example, if like when we do the GoFood, it means our mitra is the shop, restaurant, seller, or also can be the courier as well, also can be included in here. The vendor here is actually, if example you use GNA, you use, so I mean if the courier is your mitra, it means that it will goes to this mitra. But if the courier like GNA, so it's just like your vendor, then you need to put in the vendor agreement. Okay, so it's just like courier, bank, internet provider, website provider, then you can put in the vendor agreement here. Okay, the difference between mitra and vendor is when you have a business with the vendor, it means that you will pay the service as per the agreement, right? But for the mitra agreement, for the mitra, usually we are not paying them, but actually we charge them. Okay, so that's why it will be different. If let's say the mitra is, example, if GoFood, okay, so in when we talk about the GoFood business, it means the restaurants and the Gojek is actually considered as a mitra. Okay, but when we talk about example Shopee, so the mitra will be the seller, but for JNA and bank, it will be considered as vendor. Okay, they are not considered as mitra because Shopee will charge something to seller, but Shopee will not charge anything to courier and bank. In fact, actually, we usually Shopee will need to pay to the courier as per the service provided. Okay, so in the customer agreement, you can put the agreement. Okay, example like how many days you will deliver the goods, and then how many days the goods will arrive. Okay, so the customer order is not only talking about the customer not only talking about the order handling. It means that how many days your order will be being prepared, And then it's also covering how many days the goods will be shipped to the customer place. Okay, it's mean example, if the customer order at day at date 10 November, and then it will needs maximum 2 days to be packing, and then it will, if the customer area is in still Java island, then how many days it will be arrive, and if it's another area then Java, and so on and so on. You can define that agreement. Okay, and then you also need to define when example there is defect in the goods or in the service, you can put the agreement there, or maybe the warranty you can define in the agreement. How the customer can contact you, how many days you will reply to their uh, complaint. Okay, is it in a days or in a hours? Okay, and then how to contact you, is it via email, is it via WhatsApp or whatever, and then how is the procedure of complaining, whether they need to submit the video or text or whatever. Okay, so basically you just explain in that agreement. Okay, and then with the same thing with the mitra and the vendor, you need to explain like if example the goods defect, then how the mitra, how the seller will responsible, whether the seller need to send the goods or replace the money. Okay, you need to explain the agreement, and then it's also considering the payment agreement. Like GoFood and the restaurant. Okay, so how many hours or how many days GoFood will pay to the restaurant, because the money will the customer will pay to the GoFood first, right? So actually the money is coming to GoFood. So how many days GoFood will pay to the restaurant, and then how about if there is complaint from the customer, example the food is not nice, or maybe there's a poison, so who will responsible and how it will be responsible. And then you also can uh, explain if example you have an advertising things, then uh, what is the advertising will be done, is it in the application only, or it also will be published in the social media. Example, if example Shopee provided the advertising also for the seller, right? So usually if the seller pay advertising, then uh, the seller shop will be on the top. Okay, so you need to the Shopee need to explain to the seller like, if you pay this amount, then uh, your your shop will be on the top of the application for how many hours or how many days. Okay, and then example that Shopee also have Instagram. Okay, so is it the advertising only apply in the Shopee only, or it will or the seller also will be published in the Shopee social media, and so on. And then with the vendor, example with the bank, uh, how the payment will be handled. Okay, like, and then how about if example the customer complain saying that the payment is not the payment already paid, but example there is a dispute or something, then you can explain. And also example for the internet provider, how about what is your agreement with the internet provider, like if the maintenance, okay, so whether the maintenance can be done during the what time, okay, so example you use first media, okay, and then what is the agreement with the first media, and then example for the web provider, example you use the uh, cloud server and so on, so what is the backup process, what is the downtime server, okay, so you need to explain in that agreement. And the improvement handling here actually to explain for the improvement, actually if example previously you only use the bandwidth is like uh, 100 megabyte, and then now you want to upsize it, so what is the handling agreement? Example for the cloud server, you previously you only ran for uh, 10 terabyte, and now you want to improve it become 100 terabyte, so what is the improvement handling agreement with the provider? Okay, and then the next thing is to define the Windows navigation diagram. Okay, so the Windows navigation diagram here is actually to showing the menu in the application later. Okay, example, we will have the main menu, and then if we go to the registration menu, then it will goes to menu here. If we select the menu to login, then it will goes to this menu. If we goes to menu, example help or help or contact, then it will goes to this menu. Okay, so basically you need to define the flowing of the menu. Okay, so of course this Windows navigation only can be done after you define the business process flow. Okay, so that's why you need to define the business process flow first, and then only you can define this Windows navigation diagram. Okay, so you can define what is the form name, or maybe you can define the report also. Okay, so for the form means that example form registration, then it will goes to the form registration. But if you want to see what is the what is the order that already done, okay, example like the history, then it will goes to the report. Okay, can define the Windows navigation diagram here. And then the next is I want you to create the UI, the user interface prototype. Then the prototype you can use Adobe XD. Okay, so the Adobe XD is so the user interface prototype also can be done after you define the Windows navigation diagram. So later on I will see how many form do you have, then it you need to define the user interface prototype also. Okay, using this Adobe XD, then you can define the real template. If you use web application, then define as a web application. If you use the mobile application, then put the prototype also for mobile application. Okay, so that is the whole thing for this week assignment. So please let me know if you have any question. Thank you.